everybody, welcome in to a very special Average Joe Sports Talk. There's a lot of speculation because our high school stuff has taken off so much. If we were going to do college this year, the answer is absolutely yes. So I'm a top guy. I've learned a long time ago, when I'm not as strong as other people, I bring in guys who is stronger than me to help me out on my channel. And without any hesitation, these two gentlemen sitting to my left are both very knowledgeable. They're both very knowledgeable of not just their teams, but teams around the SEC in general. So I love to have different opinions and different thoughts come in to put together videos, an SEC preview video, which is what we're doing right here. And last year we had big responses. Some of our videos got up to like 60,000 views, and I appreciate you guys for doing that. We have more of a nationwide audience with our college breakdowns. We didn't want to do a backdrop today because right here in Alabama we're sitting at what, 71?
It's gorgeous.
71 degrees, not a cloud in the sky, not that much wind blowing, so we want to take advantage of that and do it on our porch. I'm going to let these two gentlemen introduce themselves, and then we're going to get started.
Bruce Howard from Auburn all the time.
Ben Spellman, live in Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
He's actually going to Alabama right now, post-grad, right?
Graduate school, marriage and family therapy.
There we go. Beautiful. So what we have here is we're not going to talk your heads off a lot. I know a lot of people like to get in and get out in these videos, so we're going to do that right now. So we're going to talk about the SEC West and the SEC East. I'm personally a Florida fan. He's an Auburn fan. He's an Alabama fan. So we have different opinions, but we're going to put our heads together and try to make this video. I think nationally everybody knows the SEC West is the toughest gauntlet in college football. So we're going to kind of save the best to last. We're going to start with the SEC East right here. We're going to lead off. Give us a couple of contenders you have in the SEC East and who you ultimately think is going to win this thing. I'm going to start with Bruce.
For me, simple, two-team race like it has been for the last couple of years, Florida and Georgia. Going into the season, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, I would have favored Georgia, but with Jamie Newman opting out and with them losing Dominic Blaylock, their number 2 receiver for the year with another knee injury, I give the edge to Florida because it comes down to coaching and quarterback play. And I give Florida the edge. I see it Florida first in the East and Georgia second. After that, it don't matter. After that, because it's a two-team race.
I pretty much agree with that 100%. It's pretty much come down to Florida and Georgia the past few years. South Carolina kind of came into Athens and surprised everybody last year. One thing I am going to throw out there, though, this is going to be a highly unpopular opinion, but I'm going to guess Tennessee's going to be a sleeper out of the East this year. They came into Bryant-Denny last year in the second half of the season and gave Bama all they wanted. I think Jeremy Pruitt's got them headed in the right direction.
He's recruiting very well.
Yeah, he has been. And we'll get on into that a little bit on the Bama side of it. But yeah, I think a potential sleeper coming out of the East, Tennessee Volunteers.
My personal opinion, I kind of piggybacking on what they said. Even though I'm a Florida fan, I'm also a realist. I also get frustrated because a lot of people don't kind of give credit where credit's due. Until Florida can get over, and we talked about this on your channel,
right? Until
Florida can get over that mental hurdle with Georgia, it's hard for me to pick Florida. And I don't want to pick Florida, but with the loss of the quarterback and then their number 2 receiver behind George Pickens at Georgia, I think this is the one year, and you got all this craziness going on. I think this is the one year Florida can take that step forward and probably beat them in Jacksonville. Florida's schedule definitely sets up better than theirs because Georgia plays Alabama and they play Auburn, right? So I personally think that it's definitely schedule, and then the head-to-head, I think this is the one year that Florida can get over that hump, and I think they will. So I personally think Florida. My sleeper team's Kentucky, just for the simple fact is outside of Alabama, they may have the best line on both sides of the ball. In the conference. Yeah. And we talked about this on your show.
Right.
You win football games where?
Line of scrimmage.
Absolutely.
Their line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball is top 10 in the nation. They're unbelievable up front on both sides of the ball. They don't have the athletes on the back end that some of these teams is, but I'm old school, and he coaches old school. And they're not going to wow you, and they're not going to beat people to death, but at the line of scrimmage, they're going to own about 80% of the teams they play. I think they're kind of a dangerous dark horse team. I'm not going to say they're going to beat Georgia or Florida and go win the East, but they're going to they're a dangerous team to play. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, absolutely. They picked up a lot of momentum coming off that win against Virginia Tech in the Belt
Absolutely,
Bowl last year. And they essentially did it without a quarterback.
Right.
Yeah.
So what happens when they got a guy that can throw a forward pass?
We don't know.
1940s?
Even they're getting Terry Wilson back from the ACL injury. We don't even know if he could throw a forward pass.
Yeah,
Even when
he's
he
still
was
suspect
there,
to throw a forward pass.
Yeah. So
But in other words, if you or a head coach, any head coach in America will tell you, do you want a great athlete or do you want an unbelievable lineman?
Mm-hmm.
He's going to go with that unbelievable lineman.
Absolutely.
I agree.
And they got those.
Yeah.
Now, he's made a lot of those guys. A lot of those guys are 3- and 4-star guys, and he's turned them into what they are now, and that's props to Stoops. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know if they got the athletes to get it done, but their lines, the best test early, Auburn plays them early. So,
That's
Auburn's
the
going to
best
know how
game.
good they are.
Very intriguing game.
That's the best game of the SEC opening weekend by far.
Absolutely.
Auburn is going to find out how good they are up front on both sides of the ball early.
Early.
And I'm not talking about early in the season. I'm talking about early in the game.
First drive.
So it's going to be very interesting. So those South Carolina, I just with Muschamp, I can't. Tennessee, I agree with you, is dangerous. They're a wild card, but I'm gonna have to see him do it for a continuous season, not just in spurts and seasons, which is what they've been doing.
They got to get better quarterback play too.
More consistent.
Garantano is just so up and down.
Guantanamo Bay. Man.
Hey, everybody's seen what Pruitt did to him on the sideline when he fumbled the ball against Alabama.
It's pretty rough.
It
It reminded me of 1991.
Right.
That's what it reminded me of. Now, Vandy, I don't think anybody.
No wins.
No.
I
Yeah,
don't see it.
I don't. Vandy's not.
And they've
Missouri,
had, like,
I don't.
I think
That used to be a tough place. It's
Right.
just a tricky place
Yeah,
to play.
they just don't have it
They
anymore.
don't.
new
Like
coach don't know who their quarterback's going to be.
Yeah.
I think they said at this point it's possible they could be missing 13 guys for the Alabama game.
12 was the last I heard. Could be more than that.
Could be.
But I'm going to tell you.
Alabama could name their score against.
Oh
them.
yeah. I mean,
If I'm Missouri players and I know I have Alabama coming to my house first game of the season after the end of the way they just kind of fizzled out last year. If I'm a Missouri player, I'm blinking doorknobs trying to avoid playing that game.
Well, here's the thing: if you're an athlete and you think you're as good as you portray yourself on social media and stuff, and you got Alabama coming to play you, you should step up to the plate and go to fight them tooth and nail. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I think they're going to shy away from it. I do, honestly do.
Right.
I think Alabama can name their score in that game. So I think in all the agreements, I'm going Florida.
Florida.
For sure.
Florida. Okay. All right. Let's swap things over to the West right now. This is a little more tricky. We're going to say some stuff that's not going to be real popular, especially with the people who subscribe to our channel, and there's tons of them. And I actually ran in a clown outfit because of them last year. If you have not seen that, we might could put a clip of that up. It depends on if my editor's in a good mood or not. This is the SEC West. We have the defending national champions, one of the best college football teams I've ever seen last year, the LSU Tigers. Yeah, offensively, for sure.
Not defensively.
The quarterback play was the
The
best I've ever seen in college football.
And anybody that thought that was a fluke, look what he's doing in Cincinnati already with no support.
Let
no offensive
me
line.
throw this at you. I'm still like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's hard for me to still like comprehend what
Right.
they did last year.
Oh, yeah.
How good they were offensively. Like my mind's still not. I'm just. Me
They
and my
were,
buddy Koresh was talking about. We were just sitting there like,
Right.
did this really just happen? Like
I would
just out of
say
nowhere.
They was only challenged last year in 2 games.
Florida, Auburn,
Alabama.
We challenged them. I mean, we challenged
Well,
them.
yeah.
They did.
We were inside the one about to score and make it really dicey.
Even when they played Alabama, I mean, they put up, what was that, I think 45 points against, even though Bama's defense was kind of down, especially at the front 7 last year, they still just they just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. Even once the momentum shifted and Bama started making the comeback, they just kept chipping
and they're
away.
on the road doing it. That was what.
And I was there. I'm going to tell you, that was the most hostile environment that I've ever. I've been to a lot of ball games, and that was the atmosphere of that ball game.
The fans did their part.
Oh man.
Let me ask you this, as an Alabama fan, would you ever fathom during that 09 season and some of those early Saban teams, would you ever fathom them giving up 45 points?
No. And
if somebody come to you and said, hey, here in a couple of years, Nick Saban team's going to give up 40-something points at home multiple times.
Yeah. No, that's unheard of. But, it's SEC football. It's anybody can win on any given Saturday.
If people say that and they take that lightly and you think, he's just saying that. No. South Carolina went in there and beat Georgia last year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, he and I talked about this on his show. To me, this is just me talking. This is going to be very unpopular with Alabama fans, but I'm going to say it on my channel. Say it on his channel. Alabama is more dangerous with a quarterback like Mac Wilson, Mac Jones, Mac Jones, than Jalen Hurts or Tua.
By far. For
this simple reason, the Alabama will have to get back to turning and handing it to a 5-star running back, running behind 5-star offensive linemen, and getting first downs. Here's the key to that. They cut possessions down for the other teams.
Yep.
Cut the possessions down, and guess what else is happening? Their defense is resting. So when Alabama is not going out there, let's say you hit Jerry Jeudy for a 78-yard strike. Okay, guess what your defense did? They come out there, they did their job, they went to the sidelines, they go right back out there. All right, so when you got Najee Harris running down here, it's going to be Trey Sanders again this year.
And Brian Robinson.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, he's there. That's what I'm saying. So you got three-headed monster. And people don't know how good Trey Sanders is. I've watched him play several times live.
Behind a veteran offensive line, by the way.
Who's averaging about 325 probably across the board.
Alex Leatherwood, Deontay Brown.
That's what I'm saying. Neil. So here's the thing about it. When they're running downhill and they're controlling the clock and they're controlling the possessions, then they go play action off of it. So now he's going to play action to 5 stars. Where in the past, Julio was a 5-star, but who else was a real elite recruit receiver? Well, now they got those receivers. Now they got 5-star linemen in front of them. Now they got 5-star running backs. And this guy is just greedy enough to stick his head down and run it when he has to. But when Alabama controls the possessions, they cut the possessions of the other team down, their defense sits on the sidelines and rests, that's when they're most effective. Do you agree with that?
100%. And Bama lost Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy last year. You still got Devontae Smith. You still got Jalen Waddle.
Waddle, put my hands on my hip, Waddle.
Yeah. I mean,
he was the one showing out in the Auburn game, correct?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's unbelievable. But I think Najee Harris is going to be – he's going to have a season similar – it's going to be in between what Mark Ingram did and Henry. It's going to be in between there, somewhere in between there.
Like a T.J. Yeldon type season.
But to me, he's more explosive than Yeldon.
He is.
And I seen his work with Brad Lester, coincidentally. Yeah. Brad Lester and I was friends on Facebook. So I seen him and Brad Lester working out. He looks bigger, faster, and stronger noticeably from his off-season workouts that he was doing with Brad Lester. I think Alabama's going to be way more dangerous with Mark quarterback.
Yeah, and there's all this to look forward to on the offensive side of the ball. What about the defensive side of the ball? I mean, Bama is second, third team. Yeah. You have LeBron Ray back in the middle, along with Dylan Moses, Josh McMillan.
At every level, you have a superstar.
Yes.
At every level, you have a superstar. You have one at DB, you have one at linebacker, you have one in the D front. Then,
not only that, as backups, you have guys that played 10 to 12 games last year due to so many injuries preseason.
You have backup guys that would be starting at any other team in America.
Absolutely.
That's the scary part about Alabama every year. The question mark for Alabama is going to be, can he put what he's got now together? Because you can say what you want, yes or no, on either side of the equation. They have to put this together and go back to what they used to if they want to win. Yeah. This up-tempo NASCAR, that's not them.
That's not them. That's not their identity.
That's not. No. They got to go back to what they used to do because I don't see them staying in that, let's sling it, 45, let's snap the ball 70 times a game. No, it's not them. Bruce, what's your opinion on it?
I mean, it's Alabama. than everybody else. I mean, it's not even debate. They're the clear-cut favorite in the West and the SEC period. I mean, I don't even think it's a debate. And you was talking about them throwing the ball 40 or 50 times a game. That'll never happen now because why would you? I mean, with the best running back probably in college football.
3 of the best.
Then arguably the best offensive line in college football. They'll look. I would say not even knowing Bama's personnel that well. I would say they'll probably be the most balanced team in the country because they probably got Waddle, which Auburn was crazy enough to put a nickel back on him last year in the Iron Bowl game, a safety. So, I mean, he's probably the best playmaking wide receiver in the country.
Well, you say that, but I mean, who are you?
I mean, you had to pick your poison.
Who are you not going to put on?
They had. I don't
can't
even,
sacrifice your number one guy with Jerry Jeudy out on the edge.
Right. So I guess they didn't have no choice, but still, that was his coming out party, basically. Now, I mean, which everybody knew what he could do, but when you got so many weapons, it's hard to get everybody.
It's a pick your poison.
It's pick your poison. I mean,
but at the end of the day, I think the problem and what's happened to Alabama over the last few years, they fell in love with the ESPN highlights and the 70-yard touchdowns. They've lost track of the intermediate game, and they've lost track of we got to run to keep these guys from pinning their ears back.
Right.
Now, when defenses get, and Urban Meyer said this best when he was at Florida, the best offense is a 50-50 offense. Because when they have no clue what you're going to do, and then you play action and then throw it, they're done, and then they're in a prevent defense or some sort of pass defense, 3-man front, and you run it right at them and you gash them and you get them on their heels, which is what Alabama used to do. I mean, make no mistake about it. And then Alabama, golly, I used to hate when they did this. Even when they played these great Florida teams, when they would screen us. When's the last time Alabama ran a screen, an effective, good screen
to the running back
game? Now, I'm not talking about maybe once in a game.
Right.
They used to have a screen game with Ingram and those guys.
LSU in
when Yielding was there.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. You remember how effective that used to be?
Oh,
because they ran so much.
Mm-hmm. Well, look what they did going down the field on that drive. They're out.
You talking about the one down there to win it?
Yeah, down there.
When he went over there, McCarron went over there crying from emotion. Yeah,
it was
exactly.
Yeah, it was a pass out, and then out of nowhere they dropped back again, dumped the ball off to TJ Yeldon, touchdown.
That's right. He and I talked about it earlier. Alabama's going to be more effective. People laugh when I say this. They're going to be more effective with a gritty, dirt, guy like Mackey is. Like he will put his head down. He will take the hit. He will take the punch. He'll run when he has to. But most importantly, he will stand in that pocket and get destroyed to get that ball off. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I thought, and people dogged me out when I said this, I thought Tua was just a 110% finesse football player. Mm-hmm. And I said that before he got hurt. You can ask this man. I'm on film saying he's a finesse guy. He's a finesse guy. He is. I mean, Tua is very, what's the words I'm looking for? He's very accurate, okay? I don't know what he's checking in and out of because I don't know their offense that good. Mm-hmm. I don't think it's that hard to throw to 4 or 5 stars.
Oh, no, he can throw that. I mean, you could put
you can probably put my neighbor.
You could put a junior high kid out there to throw those quick slants
to 4 or 5 stars.
Yeah.
So now, if they go back to what they used to do, that's scary. Right. That's scary. He was the most gifted passer as an Auburn fan that I ever seen Alabama have. But that's comparing him to your Jay Barkers, your A.J. McCarrons. Yeah. That's not really, you know. But the thing about him, he would hold on to the ball too long to make sure the receivers come open, and you can't do that. That's how he got hurt against Mississippi State. It was a freak injury, but he's just holding on to the ball.
I think the Coker,
Tennessee too.
Yeah.
I think the Coker kid's one of the most underrated players in Alabama history.
Right.
Nobody talks about him, but he is what you're going to see this year with talent. You agree with that?
Absolutely.
I think it's Mac Wilson, correct?
Yep.
Mac Jones.
Mac Jones. I keep saying Mac Wilson.
Well, he played it.
Mac Jones is Coker with skills.
Right.
He's as gritty as he is, but he'll stick his head down. Right. But to me, he's got a little bit better arm than he does. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Who was that Coker ran over in that game that was – he ran somebody over that just flipped y'all's season. I mean, it's like – you remember what I'm talking about? He ran somebody smooth over. Every Alabama fan watching the
What
screen.
I do remember, and I have the Danny Moore painting in my living room of Greg McElroy toeing the sideline against Florida, 2009 SEC championship.
I was at I was at that one. That was disgusting.
My favorite. That's one of my top 2 favorites.
I was disgusted that day. Yeah, I was disgusted. Let's talk about challengers for Alabama. This is one of those years, and perennially, this always happens when nobody talks about Auburn. They have their best seasons.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He's recruited well still. He's still top 5 recruiting.
They're consistently around 10. They're a top 10. They're top 10. I mean, as a coaching staff, they're basically a top 10 staff. Basically, they recruit enough to compete in the SEC.
Yeah,
but can they overcome the Gus Malzahn factor? I mean, that's the whole.
That's
key.
what we were just talking about off camera.
Right. I think he's got the perfect offensive coordinator for him if he'll let him do his job. Everybody said, "Oh, it's going to be different. Oh, it's going to be different." Well, the thing about it, we're not going to have to wait to find out.
he was putting up gaudy numbers at Ole Miss, and they horrible last couple of years.
Right.
Horrible off it. I mean, like skill wise and personnel wise. So if he could somehow take that and
I would say the pieces are there. I think Auburn could finish second, but I don't think nobody's even going to challenge Alabama in the West. To be honest with you, with Auburn having to go to Tuscaloosa, a place that Gus Malzahn has never won at, I don't see that changing. And I don't know. I mean, LSU, they're not even going to be a factor this year to me. I mean, I hate to say that, I just don't see it. So it's
Auburn. 14 guys to the draft.
Yeah,
14 starters off that team last year.
That's not even counting the guys that's opted
out. Yeah,
and some saying they might opt back in, but it don't matter. So.
They lost their key ingredients is Brady.
I know LSU fans.
Yeah,
I know some LSU
Joe
fans.
Burrow, Brady.
So, and they don't like me because, I mean, I basically said Ed Orgeron is their version of Gene Chisholm. And I think it's going to come to fruition. I mean,
like I said on
people
your show,
laugh
Bruce,
at me. I think they're in trouble the first game. I think they can win. I think they'll probably win that game from a pure talent standpoint. But I got a feeling Mississippi State will give them all they want because they
keep
got
it inside the number.
Keep inside the number. You said it's what? 19?
It's went up to 19.
Like I said,
did you know that?
Check your 401k, check your mortgage, and that'll be the time to make you some money. I don't gamble, but if I did, I mean, that's...
Ben, this is what I said about Islam. The best coaching move in Orgeron's entire career is getting out of Brady's way and letting him do it.
Oh, yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Oh, yeah. Coach, he's such a likable guy.
Oh, yeah,
even as a diehard Bama fan, like I can't help but like him.
I agree.
You know, he's that translates into his recruiting as well.
100%.
You know, yeah, I think this is going to be a very unpopular opinion. I hit on it a minute ago, but I don't. As far as Bama goes, being challenged, I feel like all of the usual suspects. They're very focused in on. Of course, Georgia coming into Tuscaloosa's. They're focused on that. Iron Bowl is always a huge game. LSU is something I always look forward to. This is going to be a really unpopular opinion. You ready for this? I think if they are challenged, it will be when they have to go to Knoxville and play Tennessee.
What?
Yep, I do. I'm telling you.
You think Tennessee's maybe ready to make that stride?
They're not going to beat them. I'm expecting
a game.
like a
3-quarter game,
4-quarter game. We can go all the way down to the end. It may end up a Rocky Block type game, something like that, where they have.
You just think it's going to be one of those freaky?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like the gods are going to be shining down from heaven on the
Vols.
And, the Vols, they're going to hang in there for a long time.
I'd like to go to that game.
I'm telling you, this is coming from a guy that called the Iron Bowl loss in August last year. I have plenty of people that can verify this. I said they're going to go into Auburn. They're coming off of really an emotional season. Playing in Jordan-Hare is always a monumental task, but I mean, they tragically lost a longtime radio announcer Rod Brantley. I said they're going to play that kick six on that mega jumbotron with that voiceover about 1,300 times in that game, and it's going to be rocking, and then they're going to win a bizarre game. And sure enough, but I think that's a potential. That's a potential major upset.
Well, let me say this. Let's go one step further.
Okay.
If Jeremy Pruitt could pull that game out by some miracle, that's a program-changing win for him.
Yeah.
That changes the whole complexity of our East picks I'm not saying they're going to go win the East if they beat Alabama, but it changes the whole complexity of his program. And if they can beat them at home, they're going to have the confidence to beat anybody they play.
I'll tell you what I think is going to happen with Jimmy Pruitt. I could be wrong. Like I said, I'm an Auburn fan. I don't know. I think he's possibly Alabama's next head coach. If he continues to keep building Tennessee, the obvious choice would be Dabo Swinney, of course. If he,
I think he'd be an idiot to take.
Yeah, why would you?
The pressure, the pressure for one. But whoever, as an Auburn fan, I hope I live long enough to see Saban actually retire. I mean, I don't know if I would. I mean, it seems like he's not getting older. It seems like he's getting younger. If anything, he's not aged at all. Mm-hmm. So I'm just thinking, surely God, at some point he'll move on. Because right now, I mean, especially like I look at it just from a recruiting standpoint, Auburn really don't have a chance in state against Alabama unless the recruit actually grew up a diehard Auburn fan, and even then,
some of those.
Even then, it's not enough sometimes. So I just want to kind of level the playing field some, because it's so one-sided now when it comes to recruiting and stuff like that. But whoever takes his place, the pressure on that person, you'll never live up to the expectations he built. It's sort of like when Bear Bryant left. Mm-hmm. The expectations are going to be so high. But with that being said, whoever takes over for him have a ready-made championship team too, though.
You know who I always thought it was going to be?
Right.
Jimbo. From the simple
could
fact,
have been years ago.
Yeah. From the simple fact,
not now. But
from the simple fact, when he was at FSU,
right.
he ran it like a CEO. He didn't run it like a head coach. Everybody kept saying Dabo. Dabo is an Auburn coach. And let me tell you what I mean by that.
I already know what you're going to say.
He's at a place where he has to create energy.
Right. Mm-hmm.
He has to create this aura of we belong with these other big dogs.
Right.
Where Jimbo is a guy who goes into a place that has that already and knows how to run it like a CEO of a business. Dabo is like you said, a rah-rah guy who is a second tier. Clemson, call them what you can say what you want. They've been second tier to South Carolina.
Yeah.
Right?
Not now, but
not now.
In the past.
Not now. In the past. When he got there, for sure.
Oh yeah.
Because they were getting their head beat in by him. Mm-hmm. All right. So they were second tier to South Carolina.
Right.
And now they're a nation's elite.
Right.
But he's at a school that is a second tier school,
right.
whether they're beating South Carolina or not. Yeah. You're never going to say Texas, USC, Michigan, Alabama, Clemson. That's never going to happen. That's never going to happen.
They're always going to be sort of like Auburn in that second tier.
100%.
Always.
That's what I'm saying. He's that type of coach.
And I think
where Jimbo was, let's go to a place that's established, that wins, that when I go in a locker room anywhere in this nation in a high school, they're going to say, oh, yeah, FSU, war chant. We know them. We love them, blah, blah, blah. They're FSU. Everybody knows them. Go in the locker room, rewind the clock 12 years. Go in the locker room and say, hey, we want you to come to Clemson. They're going to be like, no, bro, come on, dude. And people used to call it jokingly a poor man's Auburn with a lake.
Yeah.
A poor man's Auburn with a lake. Now look what he's done with it.
I think that's one of the things that I've noticed a lot of Auburn fans say. If Clemson can do it, why we can't? But the thing about it, Clemson is
That's a good point.
That's a good point. Clemson's in the ACC, first of all. That's the first thing that they have that Auburn don't have. And,
that's true.
Of course, they're not competing in the state with the greatest dynasty and the best coach of all time.
Well, you look at it like this, and I said this on your show earlier.
Right.
To me, Malzahn's biggest factor, the best positive to him ever, is he's not scared of Nick Saban.
That's true.
Yeah. That's the and look, everybody's like, well, he don't do this and this and this, right. But guess what? Go hire, if you don't believe me, go hire you a coach that's on fire, that coaches at Buffalo or some mid-major that's on fire and everybody wants him. Bring him in here. The first thing he's going to do on the recruiting trail, damn sure on the field, right. is he's going to bow down to Nick Saban.
Well, the popular
this guy does not bow down to Nick. It may take him one out of every 3 years to beat him, but by God, when you don't expect it, bottom of the ninth, Alabama's rolling and ready to go win another national title, he does his work.
Well, everybody knows how I feel about Malzahn. I don't have to say it. I mean, he's handcuffed Auburn to a certain extent. He's overpaid. He's the most overpaid coach in the country. He's not worth. He makes what, $6 million a year, $7 million a year. That's highway robbery. I mean, that's just because, like I said.
Well,
but
you say that, but Patrick Mahomes is making 50.
That's true. I mean, it's getting ridiculous.
So is he worth that much more to Kansas City than Gus is to Auburn?
I don't know. But I'll say this. As an Auburn fan, I had to look at it as he has the hardest job in the country right now. His two biggest rivals are on their two best runs. Alabama's on the best run of all time to me right now. The run they're on now. And Georgia's on their best recruiting run of all time right now.
Yeah.
And he's got to compete with them every year. That's not even counting.
Oh, by the way,
LSU
in there as a crossover.
Mm-hmm. So, the big thing with Auburn is let's get rid of him. Who we going to get? Anybody can do a better job than him.
Who are you going to get?
They was intrigued. A lot of Auburn fans were intrigued by Row the Boat at Minnesota.
No. See what I'm saying?
That's their expectation.
That's what I'm saying. Go get him.
And he'll get ran out of town.
The first thing he's going to do is go bow down.
That's what he'll do.
Bet me some money.
I agree.
You going to go from rowing your boat and
let
me tell you, you're going to go from rowing your boat, circling the wagons and beating Purdue to beating Saban on the recruiting trail and on the field? No. That's not going to happen.
You have to be careful what you wish for.
Right.
Because we're talking about Auburn right now, who has no stability in their administration at all to make any kind of good hires. And so the thing about Auburn, they'll get rid of a guy like Gus and get somebody lesser than him when it's all said and done.
All right, let's do this.
Okay.
Ultimate West picks, and then we're going to go to Player of the Year. I'm going to go Alabama, but I think with the 2020, nothing's...
Because you don't know.
What? No, 2020's taught us anything is that something crazy is going to happen. My safe pick's Alabama, so I'm going to stick with Alabama. But I think something dicey and insane is going to happen this year. Like I could see one of these two Mississippi coaches just flying, doing some upset from somewhere. Like I could.
We don't know what this Mike Leach air raid offense is going to look like.
Bro,
in the SEC.
I will unload it. I want him to unload his Pirates, his clip, everything he's got. Unload it.
Well, LSU better get ready because he's going to throw the ball 65 times that first game.
Minimum.
Yeah, minimum. And LSU kind of took some losses in the secondary too.
I say Alabama, but I think it's going to be. I don't know why. I just think it's going to be. It's 2020 dicey. Something crazy is going to happen. It's going to make it. It could be a Tennessee loss.
Yes.
I'm going Bama, but it's dicey.
Alabama, Auburn, Texas A&M, LSU. Rest don't matter.
Yeah, definitely. Alabama. I just don't see, even if they lose a game, if there are other one-loss teams, I believe that they'll have the tiebreaker. I just don't see any other realistic situation where that changes. But again, it's 2020, so who knows?
I know. Now let's go Player of the Year. Y'all want me to lead off?
Go ahead.
Don't matter. Najee Harris.
Najee Harris, I think it's between Mac Jones, Najee Harris, Kyle Trask. The reason I say Kyle Trask is because returning quarterback, he started 2/3 of the games last year and ended up with 2,600 yards and like 25 touchdowns or whatever. He's just more comfortable. He's not going to flashy. He's not like he just checks into the right plays. We still got a lot of good receivers coming back. Probably the best tight end in the nation. Offensive line's gotten more steady. I just think he's going to put up 3,300 yards and probably 30-something touchdowns. And I think that's going to put him in that conversation. Mac Jones, and I think this is going to be like I said, in between a Mark Henry and Derrick Henry and Mark Ingram. It's somewhere in between those two is you're going to find what Najee Harris does this year if he does not get injured. So those three it's a 3-horse race between those three, honestly. Well,
I would have said a couple of weeks ago, according to Georgia fans, it would have been Jamie Newman. He was going to win the Heisman.
Oh yeah.
So since he decided to opt out, I guess I'll go with Mac Jones, and my homer sleeper pick is Bo Nix.
I think he's going to have a better
I think Bo Nix will have a. If he's healthy,
too many people sleeping on him.
He's better than what he's shown. Mm-hmm. He was kind of handcuffed.
He was put in.
He was put in a no-win situation.
Peyton Anderson from 5 said this best. He's the running back at Auburn now. He said, "Dude, I had to learn 500 to 600 plays in 2 months." Mm-hmm. Bo Nix had to learn 500 to 600 plays from every position on offense in that same amount of time and go out there and perform. You're not playing. You're not playing the Sisters of Mercy week 1.
Right.
You're playing Oregon on a national stage, and he didn't have a great game, but he did.
He made it happen when he had to.
Right.
That's what matters.
Thank you. You're about to help my point because me and Bruce talked about it. He looked his best when they went in the 2-minute offense.
Yeah.
Because that's what he played at Scottsboro. That's what he played at Pinson, and his dad was coaching him in both places. When they go in the NASCAR hurry up 5-4 wide spread, that's when he excels. That's what coach they got there. If they turn him loose, I think he could have a breakout.
Well, we'll know after the first game. Like I said, it's not
I
going to
think
be.
you'll know after the first half.
Well, true. And
because
I think
Kentucky's going to challenge them up front
Right.
on both sides of the football.
absolutely.
So I think we're all in agreements.
Mac Jones. It's going to come from somebody from Alabama.
I can't pick between those three because I think all three of them could make an argument.
I'll go off the beaten path a little bit. I'm going to flip over to the defensive side of the ball because I'm a defensive guy. Dylan Moses coming back, middle linebacker. He was in an insane year. Got hurt preseason going into last year. I think he's going to come back. He opted to stay. I think he's going to come back with a vengeance. He's not going to put up the flashy numbers the offensive guys put up, but I got love for my defensive guys. So
He's a stud.
He is.
Britt from Auburn, from Oxford, is a stud.
He's more your old school. He's not flashy. He's old school
Knock your head
downhill.
off.
He'll just hit you.
There's some very good talented defensive players in the conference, but I think that's I think that's what we got right now. So we got our East champion, our West champion. We got our MVP. I think that's all we're going to break down right now at this time.
Well, this time next week we'll actually have something to really
Well,
talk about.
actually, Monday when we do our high school preview,
Right.
we're probably going to go ahead and break down this week's games. That's what we normally do is right after our high school preview. So we're going to get after that big time. So thank you guys. I know this one ran long here at Average Joe Sports Talk, but we appreciate you out here on this lovely day. We had to do this one outside because
It's beautiful.
why would we go inside and put lights up in the backdrop when we come out here and do this? Thank you guys for watching. If you haven't yet, please subscribe and like the video and share it to everybody, even on the message board so we can get dogged out in Baton Rouge especially. Thank you guys. We're out.